One club out of this lot is just absolutely going to throw a spanner in the works, because they are not numbers that anybody is going to expect from this club. This is the surprise package amongst the four. In front of me are four very good options when each of these clubs is in the right hands and specifically doing a job that you want it to do. But these clubs are all very, very different, even though the loft separating them is just 2 degrees. I've got a 7 wood, which is 21 degrees. I've got a 4 hybrid, which is 22 degrees. I've got a 4 iron, which is 22.5 degrees. And I've got a 9 wood, which is 24 degrees. So not a lot separates them, but a huge amount separates them in terms of performance. And inside here at Chester and North Wales Golf Academy, I'm going to put each of these to the test on TrackMan. And trust me, the data I'm about to reveal may shock a few here. It certainly did me. So before we get into the data, I think there's some important things that people should understand when they're considering buying one of these four products. First of all, you've got to understand what they're set out to do. Shaft length, first of all, will differ, and you can see on screen now the shaft length for each of the respective clubs. Now, the longer the shaft length, the more club head speed you should effectively generate. That means the ball should go further, but you also potentially lose an element of control the longer the shaft goes. So that's something to consider as well. And irrelevant of loft, the big consideration is the ability to place the centre of gravity as far back as possible when it enables you to launch the ball higher. So the 4 iron has got very little room to move CG and will arguably be the lower launching ball. And the likes of the 7 wood and the 9 wood have got the greater overall capacity and mass to move CG as far back as possible. In theory, should launch the ball the highest, and then the hybrid sits somewhere in between. But like I said, there's one product in particular, maybe even two, that surpassed my expectations and threw me a little bit of a curveball. The biggest debate is where we start this whole process off, and I'm going to start it off with the 4 iron, probably my least favourite option personally, but equally I'm going to share what this club can do and perhaps in the right hands do a little bit better, because I think club head speed is very relevant to the test we're going to do, and what you're going to see bears out in the numbers. The other point to mention is the only club that isn't adjustable in this test is the 4 iron. Don't forget, hybrids, fairway woods can adjust loft and make a huge difference to gapping in your bag, and another real positive as to why you might have one. The number you can see on screen is something that I've been hitting just off screen and pretty relevant to what you're about to see now, hopefully. So the thing is with the 4 iron, I'm comfortable enough using it. Pulled that one down the left. We've got a 185 carry. The ball that you've seen on screen previously was a 187 carry. I'm not going to hit this too much because I'm going to go into the numbers later which tell the tale, but effectively a 185 to 195 carry is probably where I'm at. The biggest issue I have is the launch angle and also my ability with off-centre hits to get a relative ball speed that still helps me out a little. And without giving away any secrets, this isn't the best option in this list, for me at least. So I'm going to move on from the 4 iron quite quickly and we'll step up into the 7 wood. All of a sudden, the big change from 7 wood or 4 iron into 7 wood is that I'm looking down on a bloody big club head that suggests it'll help me out a bit. So straight away, my swing has got a little bit smoother. I don't feel as though I'm going to have to work as hard to get this ball out there and down range. This is the Ping G440. It doesn't really matter which club we use. That is probably the longest ball that I've hit in terms of the data off camera. Always likes to throw a little bit of a curveball in. It's an exceptionally good club. We've carried 215 yards, launching 15.9, peak height 108, and that club head speed and ball speed ratio is incredible. 7 woods are just, in my opinion, a no-brainer for many, many golfers. And obviously how far you hit, where it fits the gap in the bag, is all relative to your own personal club head speed. But I really cannot find fault with what the modern day 7 wood does. And I think it's one of the huge leaps in terms of technology over the last few years where we've seen drivers stand still. I think fairway woods and hybrids are the clubs that have really shot forward. And if you were to tell me that I was going to hit a 7 wood, which is probably just 15 yards short of where I hit driver, you tell me that a few years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. And right now, this thing absolutely flies, and all the other data parameters are exceptionally good as well. So 7 wood done, it's time to move into a 9 wood. Right, if I can just interrupt this video for literally 10 seconds, we have just launched a new weekly newsletter for anybody who's interested in golf, anybody who's interested in this channel. There's a heck of a lot of information coming your way if you sign up and register for our newsletter on the website on screen now. It's free of charge, it comes to you once a week, and it keeps you updated with everything that's going on the channel, and a lot of discount codes and sort of benefits that you will receive by signing up. So I would encourage you, if you would, take a quick look. Link will be in the description below as well, and get signed up for our newsletter to keep in the loop. So next up, we'll jump into the 9 wood, and don't forget we've leaped up now 3 degrees from the 7 wood. This is 24 degrees. Same sort of profile in terms of the club head, and same sort of principle in terms of the weighting. It's shoved way back, and we're expecting this thing to go up into the sky, come down nice and softly. Again, we're using one of the Ping models. This is a G430. The model is irrelevant. The principles are all the same, whichever club you use. So what we're expecting now is sort of, maybe I'll be looking about a 190 carry with the 9 wood is what I'd be expecting. .132 ball speed, a 198 carry, and a 17 launch, and a decent spin number, and a peak height that is coming down with snow on it. I won't let any, again, it's easy to drag these videos out a little bit and sort of hold back with the spoilers, but I'll let you know this 9 wood has been an absolute revelation, because if I'm honest with you, I just forgot how good it was. Because prior to starting this morning's gathering of information, I would have had this in at about a 180 to 190 club. It's far exceeded that, and all those other numbers are exceptional as well. So again, we've got a club that's thrown into the mix here, which ordinarily, like I said, would have been seen as something that just goes high. That's the sort of negative. And when you see the data later on today, you'll realize, later in this video, you'll realize that yes, it's something that you've got to consider. But we talk about what sort of suits average golfers. That's what, after all, this channel is all about. The ability to have so much loft, and at the same time so much the CG so far back. These kind of clubs are huge helps, and already we've seen a 7 wood or a 9 wood, and we're comparing it to perhaps the 4 iron. They're an absolute no-brainer. They're poles apart in terms of how difficult they are in terms of ease of use for the average golfer. I'm just going to hit one ball with no tee. We've had a very small tee in so far, and let's just see what this does in terms of that similar launch. What does it do now off the mat? It's just such a good feeling to get that ball out there. 16.7, 195 carry, a 121 peak height. We just did a ball off a tight lie, got 134 ball speed, still managed to launch it 16.7 with a strike that come off the bottom grooves, which again is something that these kind of modern fairway woods do incredibly well. It blows my mind, 5,500 revs of spin, 121 peak height. That thing is coming down and it's stopping on a sixpence. This product, like I said, has been the real star of the show. But we have got one more, and it's the 4 hybrid, and that in itself threw me a little bit in terms of what I found out with the performance of it. As with the 4, or as with every other club, we'll use this very small tee. It's just raising it above ground, because I feel with hybrids and with all these clubs, they're a kind of club that you're going to want to use both off the tee, but also important that you can play them off the fairway, out of the rough. And again, going back to the first option, which was the 4 iron, I feel like it's really good off the tee, off a fairway, yes, but then when you start to get into the rough, these kind of things are just a huge help. And this kind of thing being a hybrid this time, very different in terms of its profile. You've got, again, yes, there's a bit of mass in the profile to shove that CG back, but what we're expecting now is to see, or I'm expecting, a lower ball flight, even though the loft was weaker than that of the 7. You get into that realms of personal preference as well in terms of head profile, what do you like. There's a lot of people that seem to take issue with a hybrid. It's not something that bothers me, and I really like the performance out of these things. But let's see if this shot matches up with what I've managed to gather in terms of data so far. Again, what I'm pleased to say, struck the ball well enough, just left that one hanging out there a little bit on the right hand side. But just look at them numbers, and these were the kind of shocks that I found, because again, without giving any sort of secrets away, that number is very relative to what I've collected so far. 16.9 launch, 109 peak height. Would you believe a 204 carry with a 4 hybrid and a 131 ball speed? That kind of stuff again just blows my mind as to how we managed to achieve that with a 4 hybrid. Goes back to what I said earlier. These are the clubs and style of clubs where technology has played its part and made a huge difference in performance. But from my mind, at least anyway, on my memory, we've now got 3 clubs, shoving the 4 iron maybe to one side, that are doing things very similar in and around that 200-yard carry mark, maybe a little bit more with the 7 wood, but they all get there in very different ways. And that's the bit where you've got to ask yourself the question, what is it you want from a golf club? I'm just going to try one off the floor, the same as we did with that 9. I mean, 135 ball speed, 213 carry. I have no more words, to be honest with you. Pulled it a little bit down the left, which is maybe just a little bit of excitement on my part, trying to force it a little bit. And like I said, that little bit of a pull has definitely made the ball go that little bit further. But either way, I'm looking to the screen here. 3,500 revs of spin, 213 carry, a 136 ball speed off a hybrid is just ridiculous in my opinion. So let's have a closer look at that data and my averages and how each of these clubs performs very, very differently. Do you know what? These are data led and some people like this kind of thing, others don't, but I think it really does tell a tale, and it certainly has done in this experiment, and for me personally, it's been a huge eye-opener. We'll start with the 4 iron that I hit reasonably well, 10 shots, an average carry, whereas the carry is a 186. Launching relatively low at 13.3, spin number okay and ball speed okay. What is interesting there, you know, my shortest ball was 175 in fact. My longest ball was 201. That's a huge difference, and what that tells me is that when we're getting the ball out the middle of the club face, then we've got a 201 carry. When we're hitting the ball not out the club face, we've potentially got 175 because there is no great difference in swing speed. I won't go to 4 hybrid because that was a bit of a shocker. We'll go to the 7 wood, and what you'll find there is we had a 203 carry. I did say to you that one ball, that 213 ball, was a bit of a, threw me a curveball. In fact, the one I hit on camera was 215, wasn't recorded in this data. But on average, 203 with a great peak height and a great launch of 16.9 and a 132 ball speed. Just so good in terms of a set of numbers. But the thing you need to remember, launch angle 16.9 compared to the 4 iron of 13.3, there's significant difference in how the ball is going up in the air. Massive difference to me. Let's go to that 4 hybrid because it's next on screen for us. That launch angle is 15 degrees, so now it's somewhere in between that of the 4 iron and the 7 wood, but it's a lot lower. Still got a good peak height of 85 feet. It's carrying on average 205, and we've got a 131 ball speed. Just ridiculous numbers. I can't tell you, and I'm not bothered what clubs these are, what brand they are. This is what's happening in the world of hybrids and fairway woods right now that are making this game very much more playable for most average golfers with reasonably, let's say, slow to somewhere in the middle in terms of swing speeds, because I am by no means fast. That set of numbers is incredible. Let's jump down then to what I consider to be the surprise package, and that was this thing, this 9 wood. The 9 wood had an average carry of 197. You've seen on screen, we've got a couple of balls out there over 200 yards. It's this number that should appeal to a lot of average golfers. Launching at 18.2 means that it's going very much up in the air, peak height of 118, spinning really well, and a ball speed of 131 is incredible. So we've got a 131 ball speed off the 9 wood, we've got a 132 ball speed off the 7 wood, we've got a 131 ball speed off the 4 hybrid, and then we drop down massively to 123 on the 4 iron. That in itself just tells a tale, all producing similar ball speeds except for the 4 iron, which I have never had in my bag for a good couple of years because for all those reasons that you have now seen. But the 4 hybrid, the 7 and the 9 are all good clubs depending on what you want, and that really comes down to kind of ball flight being the main thing that you'll be looking at. 9 wood is shooting the ball up in the air. If you're playing a links track and it's blowing a hoolie, then that club ain't for you. It's going to be the 4 hybrid. The 7 wood again is sort of there somewhere in the middle, but each of them carrying in and around that 200-yard mark, but getting there very, very differently indeed. Right, I won't waffle on any longer. You can deep dive into those numbers and have a look through yourself, but an interesting story, and one that I really like doing this kind of video because I think it highlights the difference between clubs that seem very much similar on paper, but as you can see, are very different in terms of performance. Well, they were in my hands anyway. Let me know if you think differently. Thank you as ever for watching, and I'll see you all very soon.